All right, guys, welcome back to another edition of the Daytona Beach Motor Mouse. I'm Ryan Pritt. That is Ken Willis, and we're a day late, but we're back, Ken. And how are you doing this afternoon?
Day late and a few dollars short, I think.
That's the story of my life, I think.
Yeah. That damn Hard Rock bets that they made legal here in Florida is not doing me any favors, I can tell you that.
Well, we had to, the reason we're a day late is we had to give Ken a day off just to cool down a little bit over his anger over the short track conundrum now facing NASCAR. He was just so up in arms yesterday. We decided to let him breathe on it for a minute. So, Ken, is it tempered down? What are the thoughts and your current temperature when it comes to tracks like Martinsville?
Yeah, the new cooling off laws have helped with such things. It's one thing to write it off, as fans criticizing something because there's not enough bumping and wrecking and all that. And then usually, the smarter folks will say, oh, but this is good, blah, blah, blah. In this situation, almost nobody is happy. No. The competitors, the fans. Normally, if the fans are unhappy, the drivers are happy.
Right.
Vice versa. That's usually how this works. But in this instance, boy, they're having an issue on the short tracks, and they tried to fix it. It's still a work in progress, apparently.
Yeah, and well, I mean, let's sneak this in real quick because everyone's like, wait a second, you guys jumped the gun here. Was the race better than golf? Because you had a unique and a unique experience with the on the links Sunday, right?
Yeah, I got bamboozled, hoodwinked is what I did. I went out to watch a local kid who was leading a local Florida golf tour, mini tour event here at one of the local municipal courses. And I've known him, watched him play for a long time. I said, he could win this thing. Let me go out there and write a nice little feel-good story about a local kid. I'll catch him on the last 2 or 3 holes coming in. I was texting with people, and they, he's on 13, he's on 14. I said, all right, it's time to head up. So I go up there. He's coming down 16. Ends up in a tie, and they go 7 extra holes. So I got my steps in. That's the good news. Oh, the other good news was he did win.
There you go.
I did sidle up to his father. I said, if you get a chance of getting his ear, let him know I did not drive up here and trek extra holes to watch him get runner up. So anyway, no, that was definitely more exciting than Martinsville. From all of the little bit I saw, the highlights I watched, or highlights, that's a funny word for that.
Loose definition there.
Yeah, it was good to see Chase Elliott sniffing victory lane again. That was good. And, obviously it was theatrical because you had the 1-2-3 sweep by Hendrick on the 40th anniversary of its big win with which came in 1984. It was a win or closed the shop deal in 84. And Jeff Bodine won the race at Martinsville. And they kept the doors open, the lights on, and kept Hendrick Motorsports going. And look at him now. Jeff Bodine, who, by the way, should be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame, but can't even get nominated. Oh, well, that's another subject.
You need to pick one topic to be heated at a week, Ken. We can get to Jeff Bodine's HOF membership next week. But I will say, having been around the sport for a while, covered for 40 years or so. Oh. You've seen some clunkers, right? Over the decades, over the years, there's been plenty of rule changes.
I remember watching Jeff Burton lead all 200 laps or 300 laps at New Hampshire back in 01, I think it was.
So I was in the house at Charlotte for the 600 that Martin Truex led 392 laps out of. So it's not like this is completely foreign, not like we've never been here before. But, do you think change is imminent? And if not, I mean, what's it going to take here? Because like you said, everyone's pretty unified in this thing now.
Change is the one constant in NASCAR. I mean, there's so many moving parts and technology changes so quickly that they're constantly updating and upgrading the rules. And as Gary Nelson once told me, he says, why NASCAR is headquartered in Daytona Beach with the emphasis on beach. And he said it's so they can write the rules in the sand because they're easily written and rewritten. And I mean, they will eventually stumble upon a combination of tire and horsepower and aero tweaks that work, and we'll be really happy about it. But I can almost guarantee you the drivers won't like it.
Well, the thing, part of that, first of all, the drivers to a man don't like this, so at least it would be different. But you kind of hit on two things there, right? So the drivers are screaming for horsepower. We hear it all the time. I've heard Larson say it. I've heard Hamlin say it repeatedly, and they're far from the only ones. Or a softer tire. Well, Goodyear seems unwilling to do that because, and somehow this doesn't make sense because I don't know one human being alive that's like, you know what, Martin Truex Jr. blew a tire Sunday. I'm not buying Goodyears this week, right? I mean, is there really a correlation between those two things? But at least
No.
you can at least understand where Goodyear's coming from, right?
Never,
NASCAR,
never
yeah,
underestimate how sensitive they are to such things. So.
right, but NASCAR has repeatedly said, horsepower may be an option eventually, maybe not, but there's never really that I've seen been a reason for why we're not trying to add horsepower. So, what do you think it is, and which one of those two things give first? Because those seem to be the only options.
I don't know is a short answer. I mean, I could.
Why do I ask you these things, Ken? Come on. Your opinion.
I mean, what is the official? I've read so much about it. I can't even circle back and try to find the original official reasoning for not adding horsepower.
I don't know that there is an official reasoning, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah. And shouldn't that be built into the Constitution? I mean, the word is racing, right? That's the word. And the goal is to go fast and faster and eventually, hopefully, fastest. And one way to do, I mean, I'm no engineer, but I think one way to do that is with more horsepower. Now, granted, if everybody else has more horsepower, that's not going to solve that problem. But yeah, I mean, some drivers that seem to be well spoken. I've still got the pollen lung going. Are preaching that. So I mean, when Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski and those guys are screaming for horsepower, I don't write it off as just bitching and pissing and moaning.
Yeah. So I know part of it has rumored to be the fact that somehow keeping horsepower down would welcome a new manufacturer, and there's been rumors swirling around Honda here for the last 6 to 12 months, I guess. I mean, is there a chance that Honda has an agreement in there as long as the horsepower stays where it is? We're going to join the sport in 2027.
Did you see a light pop up over my head when you said that? Sometimes it's the most obvious thing, it could very well, that could be it.
Yeah.
Of course, my obvious question is, what does Honda have against horsepower? I mean, do they not have a engine department that could compete? I mean, I would assume you got all those bases covered before you go racing.
Yeah. And we haven't had a new manufacturer in since what? When did Toyota come? I mean, without looking, 2000s, mid 2000s, early
5-ish, I think, in the truck series. Yeah.
It just seems to me maybe it's worth a try, but we'll digress here and move on for now to a mile and a half. And who thought we'd ever see the day where we're like, thank God we're going to Texas. But here we are, and we're going to Texas, a mile and a half, and lo and behold, I don't know how many times this has happened this year, by the way, where a driver wins the week before and is atop the average finish chart the next week. But here's William Byron, by the way, leading the average, average finish at Texas, 3.3 over the last 3 events. That's pretty good. You counting them out this week?
Of course. And you talk about a guy that's going to look awkward if he wins, and a guy that would look awkward wearing that Stetson in victory lane. Yeah, he doesn't exactly look like a grandfather clock kind of guy either, but he won one of them last week.
His second one, by the way.
He might be the most unlikely looking Stetson hat wearer since Matt Kenseth won in Texas. So, old mild Matt. Yeah, you don't think Wyatt Earp, Of course, I think he was a Kansas guy anyway, I believe.
Yeah, but we're going to put you on the spot here. You're writing off William Byron as you've done his whole career. So who are you taking this week?
Ryan Blaney is going to win again. He got a little bit better last week. I think his little mini slump is over, and I think I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney on this one. So, with the possible Martin Truex, but landing on Blaney.
So here we are, right? And you know what I've done all year. Brad Keselowski, second on the average finish sheet.
No, don't do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to let him finally get his win by going elsewhere with my pick, and I'm going to take Christopher Bell. because usually
Oh.
just about the time he strings a couple duds together and you
Yeah.
forget about him, here he comes with a win. So it would be about time for that after a disappointing run at Martinsville. So let's
I
just
found
pray
a ball,
for.
by the way. Not the ball, but I found a pickleball of all things.
What's the
floating
difference
around.
between a pickleball and a wiffle ball? Quickly.
Spelled differently. They make two types of pickleballs. They make an indoor ball and an outdoor ball. There's the holes are a little bigger and closer together for indoor, I think. I might have it backwards, but anyway.
There you go. Well, guys, sorry if the loud thumping noises like that got in the way. The guys are roofing above my head. So thanks, guys, for tuning in up there. Thank you for tuning in right here. I'm Ryan Pritt. That's Ken Willis. We'll see you hopefully after a better race next week.
Yes.